Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Meeting Gold podcast. We're excited to be back inside the studio. We're opening up our new studio soon, so expect a season 2 dropping. But we've got a really cool guest here today. Mike's joined us from 20 Valley Media. Mike, hey, brother, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Man? Thank you for having me. This is like super awesome. I'm really excited. And
Thanks.
Yeah,
How many podcasts have you done before?
I think I would just say this is like my third one ever, but this like actually in person, this is my first one. It's amazing.
I love like we had another guest on last week who had never done a podcast before. This is your first one inside an actual studio.
Yeah.
I love taking people's virginities for podcasts like that in studio. It's great because it's exciting and I think people really appreciate it, and I'm glad that you're here, man. But yeah, Mike, thanks, runs a media company for live streaming and videography. And live streaming is something that is really niched. Like not many, like if you contacted a media company, maybe 30% of them would say, hey, yeah, we do live streaming. Mm-hmm. So it's a very niche role. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? We'll get into, why did you start doing live streaming? What's your background like that? And then we'll get into some fun stories.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll try not to be too long-winded and boring, but I kind of got into media in general. When I was younger, I had a DJ company in high school and was kind of into that whole scene. And from there, I worked at a few nightclubs. So this is when I originally from the States, so I was in Atlanta, Georgia at the time. I grew up in Florida.
And sorry, how old were you at the time?
Oh, geez, this was high school. This was like freshman year of high school, I think.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was pretty young, but, it was a hobby, and the church that I was going to had this kind of after-school program, and there's a cute girl there that I liked, right? So I'm like, okay, let me go DJ
That's
there.
how most villain stories start.
And so that kind of started off in that route, and got some jobs at like underage clubs because that was like a thing in Atlanta for my age group at that time. So was really into that scene and started helping them fix like their sound and their lighting.
Thank you for listening to this week's Golden Guest on the Meeting Gold podcast. If you learned something from today's episode, make sure to check out our other content on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, make sure to leave us a follow while you're there. Thanks, and have a golden day.
From there, it just sprouted. I was doing all sorts of freelance gigs. And again, living in Atlanta, kind of did that for about a year. And then I got a call from a good friend of mine who I was living with in Florida during college. Right. And he was from Oklahoma, and he got a job on a cruise ship. So he was working for Carnival Cruise Lines, and he got kind of really homesick. And he called me. He was literally on the ship for like 2 weeks. He calls me. He's like, dude, can you come take my place? Like, I'm getting fired.
Really?
I'm like, what? So, long story short, like Carnival flies me out like literally the next day out of Orlando. And that like started my whole career kind of in live event production, taking it more seriously.
So they kind of saw your qualification in live event production.
Yep.
And was like, hey, can you help us out?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Now why live event production? Like what did you like about that you didn't, do like the I always say there's like two sides to a videographer when they learn. It's like that side, like the live event, and then there's like just the video side of like trying to be a YouTuber or, editing video game videos. So what got you into like the live streaming? I mean, what was the interest in the nightclubs? You just enjoyed it, had a passion for it?
Like it's that feeling, when you go out on the night, you go into a club, you're going to a live show, like that energy of everything. I've always loved that. I've loved being in that scene, and especially for me, lighting was a big thing when I was younger. I'll touch on that a little bit more down the podcast.
Yeah.
But, I always loved just having that control at an event and to be able to affect so many people with lights or sounds, right? And you fog up a venue and throw some lights in the air.
It's crazy.
It's cool. That kind of happened, and that was one of my main jobs on the ship. Was they hired me for lighting for the production shows, and then I kind of worked my way up to become a senior technician and ran and oversaw everything, so audio, video, lighting, ship wide, and so did that for a couple of years. Met my wife on the ship.
On the ship.
Oh, okay.
So. Because I was going to ask what brought you here. I was figuring it was like meeting your wife.
That's exactly why I'm here.
But then how did you meet your wife? That's what I was going to ask.
So, running the shows every night. I had the job of lighting 20 beautiful dancers on stage, so Vegas-style shows. And then I had the horrible job of drinking in the bar with them afterwards. So at that time,
the best job.
Yeah, $1.25 beers and $1.75 mixed drinks in the crew bar. And so anyways, I met my wife literally the second night I was on the ship. And my buddy who I took over for, he left. And like the rest is history.
Wow.
So we did that for a couple of years, and I ended up moving up to Toronto. So she's from Vaughan originally. and she was finishing up school. I moved up here, and I've been up here for, I think, going on 15 years now.
15 years.
Yeah.
So you've done a lot in this time. So Mike, before we kind of get into like what you're doing now, and some advice for other like video aspiring videographers, what is the craziest story or like WTF moment that you have in videography that comes to mind? Because I feel like anybody's experienced as you has one. I mean, I've only been in for a year and a half, and I definitely have plenty.
Yeah, I'm like, can I say this on camera? I don't know.
Go ahead. If it's really bad, we'll cut it out. We'll cut it out.
Well, so now with the business that I have, there hasn't been too many crazy things. But previous life, like cruise ship stories, I got a ton of.
Oh, I bet. Can you give us like a really crazy one?
I won't go into specifics, but being stuck in a tin can for, some of these contracts are 6 months to a year, you're bound to just, go overboard with, drinking and partying. And when you're stuck in these environments, other people are as well, and y'all just get the same kind of crazy ideas. And so there's been numerous nights where I was maybe laying in my bunk on the ship, and a dancer from across the hall came into my room like completely butt naked.
Really?
Maybe forgetting that I was in her so-called room. So just continued like getting ready, or actually jumping into bed. I don't know, but there's been some weird stuff, but it happens to everybody.
I guess on a cruise ship, like you are all stuck on the same boat. It's like being stuck on an island together.
Yeah, basically.
And then you said for 6 months to a year?
Yeah, so most contracts are 6 months to a year, give or take.
So are you like, because I know like cruise ships will stop in the Bahamas or whatever. Let's say they stop in the Caribbean. Will you get off in the Caribbean?
Yeah, so we were considered cruise staff. So you have like different levels of staff. So people that clean the ship and do the laundry, kind of take care of everything, they're typically on a lower level.
Right.
And the cruise staff, which is considered, and not that, not to belittle anybody at all. Everybody's position on a ship is super important, and there's so many amazing people there. But the way the cruise industry kind of segments the staff is kind of by where you're at on the ship, and also the staff that are typically higher up on levels, which again, all levels are below sea level.
Right. Yeah.
If you're interacting with guests, you typically have the nicer rooms, and you're higher up on the levels of the ship. So anyways, still I had to like walk 12 decks to work every day, or take the elevator. So lots of good exercise, but yeah. So cruise staff was kind of like, the best position to be in, and as an entertainment tech or a dancer or a casino host, or the piano bar guy or whomever, or comedians on board, you were considered crew staff, and you got to interact with the guests more often. And yeah, you were off the ship in every port of call. So some ships we were on were like 3-4 day booze cruises out of Alabama, and then others were like 8 to 12 day, multiple days at sea. Those were the large ships that we were on. So
okay, so you would go. So you worked for a company that owns a bunch of cruise ships.
Yep.
And then you would go on all these different cruise ships. How was that opportunity for you? Because like somebody like me would think of that, and it's like, I've heard of guys that, like some of my buddies will talk about wanting to go on like yachts and being like a server, and the opportunity is incredible.
And that's a great thing too.
Yeah. You make great money and you get to travel.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you, like traveling? Like, I mean, it literally sounds like you basically traveled for free and actually got paid to do it.
It's the best thing ever. I recommend it to everybody, especially if you're young, because I couldn't even drink legally at the time. In the States, you have to be 21, right? So I was like 18 when I first started. But I've traveled all Eastern Western Caribbean. You're literally on the ship for a couple of days doing work, and then you hop off for 1 or 2 days, depending on your port of call, or you're there for a few hours.
Right.
And it's the time of your life, man. You got to go.
I believe it. Like that would be, everybody dreams of being able to travel for free, now being paid to travel. Can you imagine? And for you doing what you love, like literally live event production. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. So where did it kind of stem from after the cruise ships? Where did you then look at starting a career?
Yeah, after ships, I did that for 2 years, and the food and the lifestyle gets you after a while. You're stuck, and this was also pre-internet kind of being available every day. So we used to have to buy like internet cards for the cafe just to email out to your family. nowadays, like massive Carnival and Royal Caribbean ships have internet everywhere, Wi-Fi. There's like zip lines on board, and Johnny Rockets and surf waves and indoor skydiving. My brother did that for Royal Caribbean for a couple of years as well as a job. Yeah, like the iFly. They have that on board one of the Royal Caribbean ships. So he did that for a year. So lots of opportunity and great jobs to do. We can like literally talk about cruise ships like, or I bet for hours.
Sounds like such a great opportunity, even just to get a jump on whatever you're doing, or just to make some good money and travel.
So if you want to be a hairstylist, a photographer, even videographer, they have those positions on board. Anyways, my career kind of stemmed off of that. I went back to Atlanta and was just working freelance again in live events. And my girlfriend at the time, essentially gave me the ultimatum of, look, if we're serious, like you've got to come up here because she's still in school.
Right.
So that's when I made the jump. I packed up my Toyota 4Runner and drove up to Canada. And, got my residency shortly after, and the rest is history. So
now, were you making decent money when you were doing the freelance, or was that kind of like, it was enough to live on and stuff?
Yeah, considering like I was in my early 20s, half of it I was still living at home with my parents. Like I
that
moved
definitely
back
helped,
yeah, that for sure helped. But then when I moved up here, I literally started from scratch. So like everything in my life, insurance was the big thing. Here I am. I'm like, oh, I got a clean car record for all these years driving in the US. That started from scratch here. Getting a basement apartment in Vaughan at the time was like $1,200 a month, which to me was crazy because I was renting in Florida for like $600 a month at like a huge gated.
And now look at what
and now it's even more insane.
It's like $2,000. It's a joke.
Yeah. So anyways, just kind of started up doing that. I worked at, I think it's Rebel Nightclub now. So it's the old Docks Sound Academy.
Yep.
So I was working there for a while with Towers Productions, which became Claire Showco. So like a huge sound and lighting rental company, and did a lot of shows there as well.
Oh, okay. Wait, so you worked for a couple of other live production companies and stuff.
Yeah, after I moved up here, I was still doing the freelance work. So as a lighting technician, which I was doing at the time, you're essentially a freelance position, just like with videography or media companies now, everybody's freelance, right? You own your own business. So I was a subcontractor in that sense. So you get hired out by, whatever event or nightclub or whatnot. So, I was doing that for a while, working for a couple other rental production houses in the city. So literally I'd be on different shows of all sorts, whether it was the TIFF awards or doing, literally setting up a microphone for the CEO of Tim Hortons for a conference of like 10,000 people to whatever. It could be anything on any given day. So that's what I loved the most about it was, there
was constant change.
Yeah.
So where did the idea to become an entrepreneur come from? Was it like, I've served enough? I always feel like it kind of goes like this is once you feel as if you've served enough time working for somebody, if you have innately that entrepreneurial mindset, you're going to go off on your own. It's just a matter of time.
Exactly.
So you kind of had that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. From day one, since I was young, I used to sell I always bring up this story. I used to sell snow cones with my brother on the street.
Really?
When we lived in Florida. And I'd make like $300 a summer. Like, I don't even know. I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. And so I'd hire my brother we'd freeze all the ice the night before. We had a little manual crank snow cone machine, and I'd hire him to help pull the cooler out, the table to the street corner, and we'd put up signs everywhere, like blocks in advance to let people know, right? And actually my first business lesson stemmed from that. We had one summer where a guy on a bike came by, he's got all of his spandex, his riding gear on, super pro looking. And I'm like, yeah, we can trust him. So, he said, I'll take a snow cone. He's like, I got no cash on me. And we're selling for like $2, right? And he's like, okay, well, I'll come back. Let me run to the ATM, right? You think the guy ever came back?
No.
So that was my first lesson in business is, it's
don't trust everybody. Actually, don't trust anybody. Really?
Don't trust anybody.
Yeah. I mean, in bigger I laugh because you always see in like movies like big development projects and like Las Vegas or something like that. Like guys are always screwing each other. I mean, hey, you never know if that's true or not, but I'm sure it's happened before. But no, see, it's really interesting that you say that at such a young age, 7, 8 years old, you had that interest. I remember it was
there.
We had plum trees right across. When you pulled into the driveway, you saw there were trees.
Yeah.
Those are plum trees.
Okay.
So we would pick those trees and we would get these big bushels and we would sit right at the front of our driveway and literally say $5 for a basket of plums. And we would sit out there. And that was the first, like, you know, when you collect the plums or when you get all the snow cones, you think, oh my God, how could somebody not want this? Like, I'm going to sell so much. And then, you know, we could make like $50 a day. And at that time, that's a lot of money, right?
Area, like
well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you start waiting out there and 10, 15, 20 minutes go by and nothing's coming, right? And it's that moment of realization. So what are some moments of realization for you that have happened throughout running your company now that you've kind of learned that you would want to give to other videographers or just anybody in general wanting to start a business, maybe starting from scratch?
Yeah, for sure. It all stemmed from there. It was just natural, and whether it was snow cones or mowing yards, and to see how much money I can get to even mow a yard, it was just something that excited me, and I liked it was more the pursuit, like the game of it.
The adrenaline rush you got from it, trying to sell.
And that still to this day is a thing. Doesn't matter who my client is. They're a small mom and pop shop, and I think they should have some fresh content on their website to, you know, Fortune 500 company that is severely lacking with media production, or I'll just go after them. Yeah. And it's that pursuit that really excites me still. And I'll ride that out for as long as I can. And this is a great thing. I'm at a point in my life now, you know, I'm almost in my 40s. I've got 2 young kids. They mean the world to me. So that's, you know, by far the most important thing. My wife, my kids, make sure they have a roof over their head and that they're fed. And, you know, I get to have fun with whatever else now. So, owning my own company is definitely something I wanted to do for a long time. And after that whole live event world, I got into architectural lighting, which was essentially more of a sit-down job for me. I could still go out in the field and do some work and travel, which was super fun. And it still fed that, but after a while, I got tired of it. I was doing a commute from Toronto to Grimsby every day, which was like 2 hours, and that was taking quite a while. So I had the realization one day to start my business. I actually had a panic attack in the car in traffic on the way back.
Wow.
And that was it. I was like, enough's enough. I don't need to be here. I don't need to be feeling like this. And family's too important. So I made the jump and started my business. It was actually a little bit of a side hustle for a while. Because
I was going to say, it must have been a little bit of freelance or something like that. Yeah. Just as like a side hobby. So sorry if I missed it. What were you doing like prior to starting your business to, like, I guess, what would you say, pay the bills?
Yeah. So after the whole live event thing, and getting into broadcast, I got into architectural lighting. Essentially I was very specialized in lighting controls for concerts.
Right.
And that stemmed over to the architectural market. So everybody can relate to this. The CN Tower, it's got a light show on it with all those color changing lights. So the company I was working for, they originally sold the lights for the CN Tower.
Wow.
So what I was doing for them, because it was, again, very specialized, there wasn't a lot of people doing it. I was designing those systems, selling them, and programming them as well. So I would do everything on paper. The company would sell it. I would sell it, whatever. And then I'd go out and get the computer systems up and running, program all the lights. And at the end of the day, you know, this is a creative project for a client. And I saw it as marketing, essentially. Like, people want their brand colors on their buildings. It's just another part of branding and marketing, right?
Yeah.
And then for a large business, corporation, company, for them to be able to have a bit of interactivity with it, you know, they can put different colors on the building, pink for breast cancer awareness, you know, red and green for Christmas, whatever it is, Aboriginal Day.
Because, that's a big one. It's like neon lights are huge in just marketing, right? Like, I would honestly say, like, when you are going to a city, right? The person that could have like a big light show or just even a light attraction speaks louder than, you know, a nice sign.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about, is attracting attention to your brand. And whether it's the CN Tower, the RBC building, I did a huge project in Yonge and Dundas Square, downtown Toronto. It's all about attracting attention. So that was a huge thing. I did that for almost a decade and was amazing. And I started kind of getting tired of it, and there was a lot of things going on with my career at the time with having kids and stuff. It was just too much, and I'm like, let's settle down in Grimsby. It's nice and quiet out here.
Yeah, nice and quiet in Grimsby.
Wine country at our door.
And this was before houses were $5.5 million.
We left Toronto during 3 booms ago, and we were laughing. So I can only imagine if we still had our condo right now down there. I probably want to still have it. Yeah.
Oh, geez, that would be tough. But you know what? No, I admire the fact that you were like, okay, I've served enough time working for somebody else. Now it's time to chase what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so I guess what was the number one biggest challenge? Like you talk about like realization moments. Now let's like, give me your number one challenge. Was it selling? Was it getting clients? Was it getting the work done professionally? I would be shocked if that was it because you had so much experience prior. Like what was the hardest thing for you
to
adjust to being a business owner?
And I tell this, speak to the audience. I tell this to everybody out there. If you have that burning desire inside of you, follow it, because it's going to eat at you if you don't. And everybody that I talk to, no matter what business they want to start or get into, they have that. They can feel it. Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, that doesn't necessarily matter. You can learn business. You can learn all the tricks of the trade and you can do it. But if you have that yearning inside of you, you need to follow it. You don't want to be on your deathbed saying, what if?
Yeah.
And so the older I've gotten, that's all I think about now. So things can change. I got a media company now. What's going to be in 5 years, 10 years? Do I even want to do this anymore? You never know.
Sometimes I honestly wonder, like, we've seen technology take such a big advance in the last 20 years, 22 years. And I mean, half of which I wasn't consciously even a part of. But with that being said, I really do wonder what direction we're going to take in 10 years. Like, all media companies right now, they've got, 4K, 60. That's what everybody's like professionally shooting in, right? For real estate stuff and that kind of thing.
20K one day.
Right.
It's just going to be a hologram.
Yeah. Or like HDR photography, right? Being able to see the windows and the shadows all at the same time. And I genuinely don't know where it could go. Granted, maybe it's, house tours VR.
Yeah. Actually, I'm really excited to see where the real estate industry goes because, FPV is starting to become a real big thing.
I was going to say FPV drones, I think, are going to take off a little bit more.
And considering the fact that, again, you can program their course through a property, and now, like GoPro, I think I just saw yesterday, came out with a new bare bones GoPro to fit on the FPVs. So the whole package could be within, Canada's.
Oh, is that box? That
GoPro Bones, I think, is what they're calling it.
Interesting.
I think I just saw a quick video.
Shiny object syndrome is going to kill me on that one.
But it's like, we're a videographer, photographer's position could very well be taken over by an FPV drone.
I was going to say,
somebody still needs to operate and program it and export footage. That is always going to be around.
I'm
it's crazy what's going on.
Like, you think, okay, is it still going to be worthwhile to be a videographer in 10 years? Don't know, because I don't know what production. One thing I will say is, we saw from now we're talking more logistical stuff, but I find it really interesting.
Yeah.
You see media from, 1800s to 1990s, right? 190 years was just we're trying to get color. We're trying to get as not stop motion footage as possible. We're trying to get as smooth as possible. 90s to 2000s, maybe 2005. We're in a little bit of a retro, just starting to get funky with media. 2005 and up, 2005, I want to say to maybe 2017, 2016, we started to see really high-end production. And that's what people wanted to see, YouTube, right? People want to see high-end production. And that's when attention span started to dip, right? I think our attention span started to go so bad in the last 10, 15 years. 2
seconds now.
It's horrible. We have 3 seconds to capture somebody's attention on a reel. And then in that 3 seconds, we just have another 3 seconds, and then that counts as a view. So you break up the 6 seconds, that counts as a view into 2 parts. It's so hard to keep them to stay. But now we're starting to see, thanks to TikTok, this lower quality production. And it's where is that going to be taken? Are we going to go back to this really retro vibe? What are your thoughts on that? What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been around longer than I have in media.
I've always been a fan of quality. I think quality is always going to hold its place in time and space. And I'm one that's always for quality. I just had a client yesterday that was I sent him a rough cut of something, and they're like, "This is great. Let's export it." I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's not even done yet.
It's not. And that's even another good point is you need to fight for yourself as a company if you have a certain vision or if you hold yourself at a certain level of creative. that's super important to hold yourself there. Again, everybody just wants to get paid at the end of the day. And if someone's just throwing money at you, do you really just want to take it, or do you want to hold yourself to that
hold yourself accountable? Right?
Yeah. And I, as a creative, I myself certainly struggle with that all the time on many projects. How far do you want to take it? And then, I just kind of offer kind of the gamut now, I think, like speaking towards my business and what we offer. If someone wants a more low quality or just say a lower production cost of video for social media, TikTok or Reels on Insta or whatever, we offer that. Like we have a package where we shoot on our iPhone.
Really,
it's quicker, it's faster. I can export things.
I gotta say that's really, it's interesting because I think like, I've had that is where like, okay, well, I don't need all this. So for example, our podcast premium package comes with photos. It comes with, 3 camera angles. It comes with, up to 4 mics. It comes with, 3 teasers and then a custom intro. And then it's like, but that's not cheap. Like that's a premium package. Question is, do we want to offer something that's maybe just audio? Well, you only have so many hours in a day. So do you do that at a lower cost, or can you get the premium package booked throughout the day? It's a tough realization. Yeah. But I think one thing that I think we can probably speak to is for anybody listening, like you could totally start a video business, like just on doing quick 30-second videos.
Oh, for sure.
And you could make 10 grand a month doing that. Like, I was going to say like, let me ask you this. This is a good question. If you could go back with the knowledge that you have now, would you continue to do your live streaming? Or if I could tell you, okay, you can't do live streaming or like videography to what you're specifically doing now, you could still do videography. What kind of niche market would then you get into? Like, where do you see there's other opportunity?
Oh, back then, what would I have gotten into?
Maybe even now, like to grow into.
It'd still be some sort of media. Like I just love interacting with people and learning their story. And actually that's a good point. A lot of this stems from my live event background. Theater and theatrical sound, lighting, that production world is all about telling story. Yeah. I'm doing the same thing when I was doing architectural lighting on buildings. I'm telling a story with lights there. And now with my media business, I'm telling people's stories. So like I've always been a lover of meeting people and just, talking just like we are now. I could do this all day. Yeah. So if I could go back, I'd take whatever medium and apply it to today, whatever the trend is, right? Yeah. Like whatever's fun. And
I guess that's a big thing, right? Like, do you see FPV pilots getting a ton of real estate work right now? Not so much. Maybe more sporting events, but we don't see it so much right now in real estate. So you might say, oh, well, that's not a good business to get into right now.
Yeah, I've seen it like more on super high end properties.
I was gonna say like in LA or
Hawaii,
something.
I know a couple guys out there that shoot real estate and high end production, and they're doing it on like multi-million-dollar projects every single time. It's part of their package.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I do think that you mentioned FPV. FPV will start to grow into the real estate market. Yeah. Granted, the real estate market's only one market. There's the music industry to create there's companies that just do music videos. There's companies that just make weddings. There's companies that just do live streaming, just do 60-second videos.
Yeah, it's still very specialized. Yeah. And I think it will be for some time, as I've got a buddy that was telling me, FPV is you got to cobble it together. They're kits. You need to know what to make and how to program it and all this. As soon as FPV comes out more like, DJI's got the one out now. I
have it upstairs. Box. Yeah, it's beautiful. Awesome. It's amazing.
I think as soon as that market becomes more ready to fly out of the box, obviously more people, especially in real estate, are going to adopt it. With real estate being so many facets to one single listing, you've got photo, video, drone, you have magazines, websites, brochures. Like one company literally would be picked just because they do all that versus one guy that has a drone or one guy that can shoot photo, video, drone.
So that leads me to my next question. Do you think, starting out, is it better to generalize your services? Because I remember when I was starting out, it was like, hey, I do social media marketing and I do video and I do photos and I do graphic work and I do like all that stuff. And I didn't really get many social media marketing. I got more like video. But do you think that it's better to specify a niche right away or be the yes man to everything when you start? Because I can see both sides. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, you can certainly go both ways. If you're good at one, by all means, use your talents and go with it. But for me personally, when I was starting off, I was just trying everything. My business has been around, I think we're going on our fourth official year now. And literally I've looked at the last 3 years as just trying everything. I've literally done everything in the video market. Other than super high-end cinema production.
Like a movie. I call it, like movie production.
Yeah, at that point, you're, again, a freelancer and you're either audio. It probably
Well, exactly, right? Like, I think times change. And I mean, you said you're what, 40?
Almost. I'm 38 now. Geez.
You're only 38. Yeah. Like, if you really think about it, you've got 20 years till you, or no. Is that 8? Wait, hold on. 12
I'm living to 102. So.
12 years till you turn 50, and you're going to be vibing. Oh, geez. I just hit him with a realization.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
2 years till I'm 20. Don't worry, buddy.
So much time. We all have so much time. That's the great thing.
I love it, man. No, you know what? We all have time, and I'm so excited to see where you guys take it. I'm excited to see where, just in general, like where you can take live streaming in the GTA and just videography in general. I'm excited to see where FPV goes. I'm glad we had that talk today because I think it's a thing that not a lot of people talk about, but it's a really dope thing that's starting to happen.
It's so cool.
It's so hard to fly those things, though.
It is. I tried once. I'm like, never again.
I'm in the sim. 4 hours. Finally, it's like something started to click. But then it's like to like do the time trials and stuff, like in the DJI thing, it kills you. Like I would do it more though, because I think you would really like it. Can you imagine?
It would be
imagine
expensive for me.
GoPro Hero 10 can now live stream.
Yeah.
Attach it to an FPV drone and live stream a sporting event.
Yeah.
There's a market there.
So we actually we can do live streaming from DJI drones right now.
Really? Wait, from the FPV ones?
Not from FPV, from the regular. Okay. So with the big controller, I forget the name of it. It's got an HDMI out, so we'll use that as a source for our live stream. So typically when that happens, I've done it once for a wedding and for some other brand stuff. We've definitely done it for their outdoor events, but we'll hire a freelance drone operator.
Right.
For that. So we'll take that feed into our live stream as well. So that's been pretty cool that we've been able to do that.
So they just sit there with the cord plugged into the computer.
Yeah.
Connected to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So we give them a shot list, away they go. So.
Oh, geez, that's cool stuff. Hey, well, listen, I'm filming the Merrittville thing, so maybe I'll speak word into Merrittville, and maybe that would be super cool.
Let me know, man. I'd love to work with you.
That'd be awesome. Well, Mike, listen, brother, I appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
To anybody that's watching, thank you. And if you want to reach out to Mike, hire him for some dope live streaming stuff or videography. Mike, hit them with the tag. Where can they hit you up?
Yeah, you can find us at 20 Valley Media. That's spelled out TWENTY, or at 20 Valley Media on Instagram.
It's like 20 Valley Golf Club, but 20 Valley Media.
Yeah, we're in the 20 Valley region of Niagara, so right where wine country starts. Come out here.
It's a beautiful area.
Well. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. I love filming. I have some friends down there and we'll film some like wineries and stuff like that for fun, but it's absolutely, I love going down there. Mike, thanks for coming on, brother. Anybody listening, make sure to download this episode, show us your support, because that's how we're able to track all of our statistics, and we'll see you next week for another podcast. We're going strong for a year. Thank you very much, guys. Take it easy. Enjoy.
All right.
Thank you for listening to this week's Golden Guest on the Meeting Gold podcast. If you learned something from today's episode, make sure to check out our other content on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, make sure to leave us a follow while you're there. Thanks, and have a golden day.